You are sitting at your sister's dining table in Dayton, Ohio, and your brother-in-law Kyle is telling everyone about the truck he just financed. $68,000, zero down, $741 a month for 72 months. He says it like it's a trophy. Your mother nods. Your nephew asks if it has heated seats. Nobody asks you anything because nobody ever does. You pass the mashed potatoes and you smile, and under the tablecloth, on your phone, there's a number that would buy Kyle's truck 11 times over, and not one person at this table knows it exists. You are 41 years old. You have been investing since you were 29. 12 years, 431 paychecks. And not once, not at a wedding, not at a funeral, not at Christmas, have you said the word portfolio out loud in this family. It started on a Tuesday in March, the year you turned 29, in a 2-bedroom apartment on Wyoming Street with a landlord named Mr. Patterson, who raised the rent every June like clockwork. You were making $41,200 a year doing inventory logistics for a distribution company off Route 4. You drove a 2009 Honda Civic with 142,000 miles on it and a check engine light you'd stop noticing. You weren't poor. You were something quieter than poor. You were stuck, and stuck doesn't get sympathy. Stuck just gets ignored. That Tuesday, you opened an account with $600. Not because someone told you to, because you'd read on a lunch break, sitting alone in your car, eating a gas station sandwich, that the average millionaire in America builds their wealth slowly, in silence, over decades, mostly through unglamorous index funds nobody brags about at parties. You didn't tell anyone. You didn't post anything. You just moved $130 a week. Every week, rain or layoffs or bad breakups, into a fund that tracked the entire market, and then you went back to your life and let nobody know. Nobody saw the version of you that mattered. They saw the Civic. They saw the apartment with the mismatched furniture from your aunt's basement. They saw you decline the Cancun trip in 2015 because work was busy. When the truth was, you'd done the math, and a week in Cancun was 4 months of contributions you weren't willing to give up. Your college roommate, Danielle, still brings up that trip sometimes, half joking, saying you were no fun back then. She doesn't know that the $1,900 you saved that week is now worth almost $9,000. She's not supposed to know. That was never the point. The point was something harder to explain at a dinner table, the strange private discipline of building something invisible. Nobody claps for a 401k contribution. Nobody throws a party when you choose the $34,000 Corolla over the $58,000 truck, the way Kyle did, the way half your family did, one after another, financing their way into a version of success that photographs well and evaporates by 55. You watched it happen for over a decade. Cousin Brett with the boat he used 4 times. Your co-worker Sandra with the kitchen renovation that put her $22,000 into debt the same year the market dropped, and you kept buying anyway because that's what you'd promised yourself in that car with the gas station sandwich, that you would buy when it was ugly, when it was scary, when everyone else was selling. 2020 nearly broke you, not financially, psychologically. The market fell 34% in 5 weeks. Your account, which had taken 9 years to build, lost $61,000 of value in a single month. You remember standing in your kitchen at 11:40 at night, staring at the number on your phone, feeling something close to grief. Your husband, Marcus, found you there. He didn't know the exact number. You'd never shown him the exact number, not out of secrecy, but out of some old instinct to carry the weight yourself. But he knew your face. He asked if you wanted to talk. You said no. You said you just needed 5 more minutes. What you actually needed was to remember why you started, and you stood in that kitchen and you made yourself remember the version of you in the Civic, 29 years old, with $600 and a decision nobody witnessed. You didn't sell, you bought more, $340 that week, into a market everyone said was collapsing. By late 2021, the number had not just recovered, it had nearly tripled from where it stood before the crash. But you didn't feel triumphant. You felt tired, in the specific way that comes from carrying something heavy for a very long time without ever setting it down in front of anyone. That's the part nobody tells you about quiet wealth. It isn't lonely because you're hiding money. It's lonely because you're hiding a whole decade of decisions. The vacation skipped, the car you kept 8 years past when you could have upgraded it, the wedding you and Marcus had for $6,000 in his parents' backyard, while Kyle and your sister spent $34,000 on theirs at a vineyard in Yellow Springs.
Everyone remembers the vineyard. Nobody remembers the backyard. You remember both, and only one of them still costs you anything. There is a specific kind of ache in doing the right thing while looking to everyone around you like you're doing nothing at all. Your mother once asked if you and Marcus were doing okay, her eyes flicking briefly to your car in the driveway. You said you were fine. You didn't correct her. You have never corrected anyone, not at Thanksgiving, not at Kyle's truck story, not at your father's retirement party where he stood up and, 3 drinks in, said he wished he'd started saving earlier, that he wished someone in the family had shown him how, and he looked right past you when he said it, because it never once occurred to him that you might be the one who knew. You didn't say anything then either. You just refilled his coffee and thought about the account, sitting quietly at $847,000. 12 years and 431 paychecks in the making, sitting in your name, untouched by explanation, unclaimed by applause. Last month you turned 41, and Marcus, who now knows the number, who has known it for years, who has never once asked you to spend it differently, sat across from you at the kitchen table with 2 mugs of coffee and said something you haven't been able to shake. He said, "You could stop now, if you wanted." Not because the number is enough to retire on. It isn't. Not yet. He meant something else. He meant you could stop carrying it alone. You could tell your mother. You could tell your sister. You could sit at that Thanksgiving table and, when Kyle finishes his truck story, say the plain truth, that the woman quietly passing the potatoes has more sitting in index funds than everyone else in that house combined, built one unglamorous paycheck at a time, with no one watching and no one clapping. You thought about it for a long time, and you decided you still wouldn't. Not because you're ashamed, not because you're afraid of what they'd say, but because somewhere in those 12 years, the silence stopped being a burden and became the thing itself. The actual answer to the question your father asked without knowing he was asking it. You didn't build that number to be seen. You built it in the exact hours nobody was looking, which is the only kind of building that ever really lasts. So this Thanksgiving, when Kyle mentions the truck again, when your mother asks if you and Marcus are doing okay, when your nephew wonders why you still drive the Corolla instead of something newer, you will smile the way you always do. You will pass the potatoes, and you will carry, quietly, the only kind of wealth that was ever actually yours, the kind nobody claps for, because nobody ever knew it was there.